Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? You can please like, share, and subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic if you haven't done so already. If you get an epiphany, a mic drop, moments, a new book to read, or a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the information are in the drop boxes below, and I want to thank everybody who has contributed to keeping me alive, literally, with donations. I can eat, I can feed the kitties, and keep the lights on and the internet going so I can continue to do this. I can't do this without the help of others because I live in New York City and I can't do that because of allergies. And I can't do this because my teeth fall out of my face and I have open gums. And no one cares here to help me. None of the politicians on either side of the fence. So it's been a hell of a nightmare. I had to purge everything, pawned, sold my house. I am waiting on a closing date. Still waiting. So help is very thankful, and I'm and the gratitude that comes from my heart. I usually hysterically cry when I get something and I'm able to feed myself. So I do want to thank everybody that has, through the time, contributed. Today was quite interesting. I sat in a car repair shop all day, literally all day, because I can't drive an unsafe car 900 miles plus to my new destination without things being fixed. My car was very unsafe. Thank goodness for credit cards. That's now maxed. The Hermit's Journey. I want to read something before I go into what I'm going to read today. This is what I posted on Facebook. I'm going to read I hate to say it's a meme, it's not. Kind of like a quote. It's from @ the Oracle reads you. Stop chasing stimulation. It's okay to be bored, to be silent, or be alone. Sometimes we need to detox from sensory overload and recenter our spirits and path. That involves turning down the volume on the outside world so that you can hear what's going on in the inside. I wrote, slow down and hear the rhythm of your soul. Hear the rhythm of your heart. Listen to the silence of your mind to have the essence speak through you. You complete yourself. Another person is an added bonus. But if you remember, we are all one. We just have to start acting like it. And it's, for me, the absolute truth. A lot of people have a hard time being alone. I've been alone my whole life. I mean, a lot of us that are watching this Hermit's Journey feel that we are alone, that nobody understands us, that we're very misunderstood, that we can't hold conversations because we don't connect with those people that just talk about middle of the day nonsense. For us, we want to talk about the stars and about the galaxy, about meditation, about things of metaphysical, geometrical conundrums and quantum physics and things of that nature. And it's very hard to connect with people who can't conceptualize any of it. So I felt very in need to put that out. And I have a lot of girlfriends right now who are in this paradigm that they can't be alone, that they always need somebody and they can't stand in their own power and put their foot down and find their power because they've been giving it away their whole lives. And there's a lot of people I know a lot of people like that. A lot of my girlfriends are like that. They can't not be in a relationship. They find anything to attach to because that's what they're used to. And they don't like to hear when I have to say, why do you keep bouncing to different men? It's not healthy. Just be by yourself. You need to be by yourself. You need to learn how to do that. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But you're going to keep getting hurt. And Allison, you were right. And I don't like to do the I told you so kind of thing. I think it's rude. But, tough love sucks. And sometimes I'm the one that usually dishes that tough love out. And I know many people that watch me are probably the ones that also do the same thing. You give tough love to people because you really do love them and you don't want to see them hurt, but they have to learn their lesson and play it out, which is great. That's usually you getting next to the side and you being more alone because now your friend is out doing something with some moron that has no good intentions for them. Some of you know who I'm talking to. And I love you nonetheless. So we're in a very interesting time in this journey that we're taking with the Hermit's journey. We have to find the power within. We have to understand that the answers are all within us, right? But then how do we go back out into society and speak that when people are running away from you? It's not easy. My friend here. So we left off, I do apologize. I wrote it down and I don't know what I did with the paper because my chaotic chaos is out of control. Because I had to find 1,000,005 documents the other day. That's why I didn't do too many videos in the last few days, proving that I am the sole heir of my estate. And within shuffling of papers, I lost everything, got all messed up. So I'm going to continue the prologue from Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And then I'm going to continue reading on the other sections. So I don't know if I left on 4, but we're going to start 5. When Zarathustra had spoken these words, he beheld the people again and was silent. There they stand, he said to his heart. There they laugh. They do not understand me. I am not the mouth for these ears. Must one smash their ears before they learn to listen with their eyes? Must one clatter like kettle drums and preachers of repentance? Or do they believe only the stammerer? They have something of which they are proud. What do they call that which makes them proud? Education, they call it. It distinguishes them from the goat herds. That is why they do not like to hear the word contempt applied to them. Let me then address their pride. Let me speak to them of what is most contemptible, but that is the last man. And thus spoke Zarathustra to the people. The time has come for man to set himself a goal. The time has come for man to plant the seed of his highest hope. His soil is still rich enough, but one day the soil will be poor and domesticated. Whew. And no tall tree will be able to grow in it. Alas, the time is coming when man will no longer shoot the arrow of his longing beyond man. And the string of his bow will have forgotten how to whirl. I say unto you, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. I say unto you, you still have chaos in yourselves. Alas, the time is coming when man will no longer give birth to a star. Alas, the time of the most despicable men is coming. He that is no longer able to despise himself. Behold, I show you the last man. What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star? Thus asked the last man, and he blinked. The earth has become small, and on it hops the last man, who makes everything small. His race is as ineradicable as the flea beetle. The last man lives longest. We have invented happiness, says the last man, and they blink. They have left the regions where it was hard to live, for one needs warmth. One still needs love, one's neighbor, and rubs against him, for one needs warmth. Becoming sick and harboring suspicion are sinful to them. One proceeds carefully. A fool, whoever still stumbles over stones or human beings. A little poison, now and then, that makes for agreeable dreams, and much poison in the end for an agreeable death. One still works, for work is a form of entertainment. But one is careful lest the entertainment be too harrowing. One no longer becomes poor or rich. Both require too much exertion. Who still wants to rule? Who obey? Both require too much exertion. No shepherd and one herd. Everybody wants the same. Everybody is the same. Whoever feels different goes voluntary into a madhouse. Formerly, all the world was mad. Say the most refined, and they blink. One is clever and knows everything that has ever happened, so there is no end of derision. One still quarrels, but one is soon reconciled, else it might spoil the digestion. One has one's little pleasure for the day and one's little pleasure for the night, but one has a regard for health. We have invented happiness, say the last man, and they blink. And here ended Zarathustra's first speech, which is also called the Prologue, for at this point he was interrupted by the clamor and delight of the crowd. Give us this last man, O Zarathustra, they shouted. Turn us into these last men. Then we shall make you a gift of the overman. And all the people jubilated and clucked with their tongues. But Zarathustra became sad and said to his heart, they do not understand me. I am not the mouth for these ears. I seem to have lived too long in the mountains. I listened too much to the brooks and trees. Now I talk to them as to goat herds. My soul is unmoved and bright as the mountains in the morning. But they think I am cold, and I jeer and make dreadful jests. And now they look at me and laugh. And as they laugh, they hate me. There is ice in their laughter. Sick. I literally just spoke about that before I even read this. Spirit sinks. I mean, I've read this book before. I think I've read it twice, but I don't memorize any of this. So there's no way I had a whole rambling. And then I open up to do this, and it matches everything I just said. Just saying. And I know a lot of you feel exactly the same way, right? It's not a journey for everybody. Then something happened that made every mouth dumb and every eye rigid. For meanwhile, the tightrope walker had begun his performance. He had stepped out of a small door and was walking over the rope, stretched between two towers and suspended over the marketplace and the people. When he had reached the exact middle of his course, the small door opened once more, and a fellow in motley clothes, looking like a jester, jumped out and followed the first one with quick steps. "Forward, Lambfoot," he shouted in an awe-inspiring voice. "Forward, lazy bones, smuggler, pale-faced, or I shall tickle you with my heel. What are you doing here between towers? The tower is where you belong. You ought to be locked up. You block the way for one better than yourself." And with every word, he came closer and closer. But when he was but one step behind, the dreadful thing happened, which made every mouth dumb and every eye rigid. He uttered a devilish cry and jumped over the man who stood in his way. This man, however, seeing his rival win, lost his head and the rope, tossed away his pole, and plunged into the depth even faster. A whirlpool of arms and legs. The marketplace became as the sea when a tempest pierces it. The people rushed apart and over one another, especially at the place where the body must hit the ground. What is going to be in our storm very soon? A lot of people doing this. Zarathustra, however, did not move, and it was right next to him that the body fell, badly maimed and disfigured, but not yet dead. After a while, the shattered man recovered consciousness and saw Zarathustra kneeling beside him. "What are you doing here?" he asked at last. "I have long known that the devil would trick me. Now he will drag me to hell. Would you prevent him?" "By my honor, friend," answered Zarathustra, "all that of which you speak does not exist. There is no devil and no hell. Your soul will be dead even before your body. Fear nothing further." The man looked up suspiciously. "If you speak the truth," he said, "I lose nothing when I lose my life. I am not much more than a beast that has been taught to dance by blows and a few meager morsels." "By no means," said Zarathustra. "You have made danger your vocation. There is nothing contemptible in that. Now you perish of your vocation, for that I will bury you with my own hands." When Zarathustra had said this, the dying man answered no more, but he moved his hands as if he sought Zarathustra's hand in thanks. Meanwhile, the evening came and the marketplace hid in darkness. Then the people scattered, for even curiosity and terror grow weary. But Zarathustra sat on the ground near the dead man, and he was lost in thought, forgetting the time. At last night came, and a cold wind blew over the lonely one. Then Zarathustra rose and said to his heart, "Verily, it is a beautiful catch of fish that Zarathustra has brought in today. Not a man has caught, but a corpse. Human existence is uncanny and still without meaning. A jester can become man's fatality. I will teach men that meaning of their existence, the overman, the lightning out of the dark cloud of man. But I am still far from them, and my sense does not speak to their senses. To men, I am still the mean between a fool and a corpse. Dark is the night, dark are Zarathustra's ways. Come, cold, stiff companion, I shall carry you where I may bury you with my own hands. Wow. Wow. Wow again. People project that onto me, right? That I'm dark, I'm a Satanist. But I am of the light. For many people feel this way. Even if you're not projecting out, there are a lot of people who actually see peace in the darkness, who actually do better at night, who actually do better in chaotic thinking. There are people like that that are very misunderstood, and they are in the ways of the dark, but not in the dark as what he was saying about the devil. Again, perception, thinking things and manifesting things. So if enough people believe in the devil becomes real. But if not, no one really thinks about the devil becomes an inanimate thought. Because we manifest our existence. So we're all manifesting a God, but what God are you manifesting? Because there are multiple people that say the word God, but God means different things to different people. You could say God, but are you talking about the creator of it all? Are you talking about Satan? Are you talking about Lucifer? Are you talking about Michael? Are you talking about Gabriel? What are you talking about? Everybody's like the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but that's not what he was called. That wasn't necessarily his actual name. Actually, I really don't think he projects himself as that, because that's what most people, when people channel, most people say Yeshua. I say Yeshua. But again, it's all projection and perception. Nietzsche wrote this. Brilliant. It's to twist your mind up, to make you think. It's unlocking something. You don't necessarily, I don't believe God is dead. Quotes it in this book. I don't believe in that, because what God is dead? Which one? The God of the all, the monad, the pleroma, the creator of it all, infinite intelligence? No, I definitely believe in that. Definitely know that. That's where my higher self dwells. That's where most of us dwell. But false gods, Owaspe, I just read it. Video before this. So really think about the journey that you're on and how you could put, like I did with the powder movie, insert yourself in these scenarios. How would you react? I'm going to read one more and then I'm going to move forward up the prologue. When Zarathustra had said this to his heart, he hoisted the corpse on his back and started on his way. And he had not taken 100 steps when a man sneaked up to him and whispered in his ear. Behold, it was the jester from the tower. Go away from this town, Zarathustra, said he. There are too many here who hate you. You are hated by the good and the just, and they call you their enemy and despiser. You are hated by the believers in the true faith, and they call you the danger of the multitude. Here and again is what a lot of us are facing, especially people who are spiritual and not necessarily religious, because we're going against the grain by talking our truth, by projecting what we know that we are, knowing the power that's within, knowing that God is our creator, into infinite intelligence is within us, knowing that we are our own savior, knowing that Yeshua isn't coming back because Yeshua already came back. He wants us to ascend to him with the consciousness that he left for us, which is frequency and compassion and unconditional love. We are the re-emerging of the Christ consciousness. We are the second coming. All of us. And a lot of people can't handle that because their good book doesn't say it in it. Where did your good book come from? Jesus didn't have a Bible when Yeshua did not have a Bible to read out of. He spoke. Who wrote those words? And many of them did not have education back then. It was transcribers and students who wrote the words of Mark, Luke, Matthew, and John. And how many books did they hide? The book of Enoch was hidden, and other scrolls were hidden. Why? This just struck and plucked every octave chord you could pluck. For some of us who understand what was just said. It was your good fortune that you were laughed at, and verily you talked like a jester. But it was your good fortune that you stooped to the dead dog. When you lowered yourself so far, you saved your own life for today. But go away from this town, or tomorrow I shall leap over you, one living over one dead. And when he said this, the man vanished, but Zarathustra went on through the dark lanes. At the gates of the town he met the grave diggers. They shone their torches in his face, recognized Zarathustra, and mocked him. Zarathustra carries off the dead dog. How nice that Zarathustra has become a grave digger, for our hands are too clean for this roast. Would Zarathustra steal his bite from the devil? Well then, we wish you a good meal, if only the devil were not a better thief than Zarathustra. He will steal them both. He will gobble up both. And they laughed and put their hands together. When Zarathustra never said a word and went his way, when he had walked 2 hours past forests and swamps, he heard so much of the hungry howling of the wolves that he himself felt hungry. So he stopped at a lonely house in which a light was burning. Like a robber, hunger overtakes me, said Zarathustra. In forests and swamps, my hunger overtakes me, and in the deep of night, my hunger is certainly capricious. Often it comes to me only after a meal, and today it did not come all day. There could it have been. And at that, Zarathustra knocked at the door of the house. An old man appeared carrying the light and asked, "Who is it that comes to me and to my bad sleep?" "A living and a dead man," said Zarathustra. "Give me something to eat and drink." I forgot about it during the day. He who feeds the hungry refreshes his own soul. Thus speaks wisdom. The old man went away but returned shortly and offered Zarathustra a bread and wine. This is an evil region for the hungry, he said. That is why I live here. Beast and man come to me. The Hermit. But I bid you companion too. Eat and drink. He is wearier than you are. Zarathustra replied, my companion is dead. I shall handily be able to persuade him. I don't care, said the old man peevishly. Whoever knocks at my door must also take what I offer. Eat and be off. Thereupon Zarathustra walked around another 2 hours, trusting the path in the light of the stars. For he was used to walking at night, and he liked to look to the face of all that slept. Well, when the dawn came, Zarathustra found himself in a deep forest, and he did not see a path anywhere. So he laid the dead man into a hollow tree, for he wanted to protect him from the wolves. And he himself lay down on the ground and the moss, his head under the tree, and soon he fell asleep, his body weary and his soul unmoved. The Hermit. Now, if we draw connections to Manly P. Hall, what was the first story about? A man in the mountains, in the forest. The hermit. The one who lived amongst the beasts, the predators, and also all the animals. What are we doing right now in society? We're the hermits living amongst the predators. People that want to do us harm, people that don't understand us, people who write and troll and say horrible things, or put in bad intentions out into the universe to harm us. We're amongst those predators. Though we find our ground in nature. We find our solitude in happiness in nature, amongst ourselves. I know I do. Before I carry on, I want to read this to you guys. It's from Instagram, Day Andre page. You must be willing to walk alone. Once you recognize the fact that truth isn't taught to the masses, the pursuit of truth can lead you onto a path of solitude. Few have the strength to walk alone. So congratulations. Many of us are walking alone. Because the truth is in your heart. On the Afterworldly. I don't know, and I don't think I read this part. At one time, Zarathustra, too, cast his delusion beyond man, like all the Afterworldly, the work of a suffering and tortured God. The world then seemed to me a dream. The world then seemed to me, and the fiction of a God. Colored smoke before the eyes of a dissatisfied deity, good and evil and joy and pain, and I and you, colored smoke. This seemed to me before creative eyes. The creator wanted to look away from himself, so he created the world. Drunken joy it is for the sufferer to look away from his suffering and to lose himself. Drunken joy and loss of self, the world once seemed to me. This world, eternally imperfect, the image of an eternal contradiction, an imperfect image, a drunken joy for its imperfect creator. Thus the world once appeared to me. Thus I too once cast my delusion beyond man, like all the afterworldly, beyond man indeed. Alas, my brothers, this God whom I created was man-made and madness. This God whom I created was man-made like the gods. Man he was, and only a poor specimen of man and ego. Out of my own ashes and fire, this ghost came to me. And verily did it not come to me from beyond. What happened, my brothers? I overcame myself, the sufferer. I carried my own ashes to the mountains. I invented a brighter flame for myself. And behold, then this ghost fled from me. Now it would be suffering for me and agony for the recovered to believe in such ghosts. Now it would be suffering for me and humiliation. Thus I speak the afterworldly. It was suffering and incapacity that created all worlds. This and that brief madness of bliss, which is experienced only by those who suffer most deeply. Weariness that wants to reach the ultimate with one leap, with one fatal leap, a poor ignorant weariness that does not want to want anymore. This created all gods and afterworlds. Believe me, my brothers, it was the body that despaired of the body and touched the ultimate walls with the fingers of a deluded spirit. Believe me, my brothers, it was the body that despaired of the earth and heard the belly of being speak to. It wanted to crash through these ultimate walls with its head, and not only with its head over there to that world, but that world is well concealed from humans. That dehumanized inhuman world, which is a heavenly nothing, and the belly of being does not speak to humans at all except as a human. Verily, all being is hard to prove and hard to induce to speak. Tell me, my brothers, is not the strangest of all things proved most nearly? Indeed, this ego and the ego's contradiction and confusion still speak most honestly of its being. This creating, willing, valuing ego, which is the measure and value of things. And this most honest being, the ego, speaks of the body and still wants the body, even when it poetrizes and raves and flutters with the broken wings. It learns to speak even more honestly, this ego. And the more it learns, the more words and honors it finds for its body and earth. That is speaking about everybody walking on this planet almost right now. A new pride my ego taught me, and this I teach men, no longer to bury one's head in the sand of heavenly things, but to bear it freely, an earthly head, which creates a meaning for the earth. A new will I teach men, to will this way which man has walked blindly, and to affirm it, and no longer to sneak away from it like the sick and decaying. It was the sick and decaying who despised body and earth and invented the heavenly realm and the redemptive drops of blood. But they took even these sweet and gloomy poisons from the body and earth. They wanted to escape their own misery, and the stars were too far for them. So they sighed. Would that there were heavenly ways to sneak into another state of being and happiness? Thus they invented their sneaky ruses and bloody potions. Ungrateful, these people deemed themselves transported from their bodies and this earth. But to whom did they owe their convolutions and raptures of their transport to their bodies and this earth? Zarathustra is gentle with the sick. Verily, he is not angry with their kinds of comfort and ingratitude. May they become convalescents, men of overcoming, and create a higher body for themselves. Nor is Zarathustra angry with the convalescent who eyes his delusion tenderly and at midnight sneaks around the grave of his God. But even so, His tears still betray sickness and a sick body to me. Many sick people have always been among the poetizers and God cravers. Furiously, they hate the lover of knowledge and that youngest among them virtues, which is called honesty. They always look backward toward dark ages. Then, indeed, delusion and faith were another matter. The rage of reason was God likeness, and doubt was sin. That's a lot to pick apart. But what are we seeing in society? There are people who follow religion. I have no, putting me in the spiritual realm, I have no harm or angst or anything bad to say about anybody that follows the books of whatever religion you follow. But the angst and the hate that come from people like those religious people who judge and who hate, who can't stand people like me, even though I'm an expression of God through this body, and God didn't want me to have the religious God of the Most High, did not want me to have a religious experience this lifetime. My arrangement with Source was different from yours, or whoever is the religious people watching. You have to remember, Nietzsche is pointing these things out in this book. There are many people going through this right now. We have to remember are all one and the same. We're expressions of Creator. We're all experiencing this plane of existence. And we all arrange different experiences, different cultures, and different tribes, and different colors, and different sexes, and different everything, because that's how Source gains its knowledge, and better knowledge, and more expansionness. It's just energy. I know these godlike men all too well. They want one to have faith in them and doubt to be sin. All too well, I also know what it is in which they have most faith. Verily, it is not in afterworlds and redemptive drops of blood, but in the body that they too have most faith, and their body is to them their thing in itself. But a sick thing it is to them, and gladly would they shed their skins. Therefore they listen to the preachers of death, and themselves preach afterworlds. The thing in itself is very well described in Schopenhauer's Metaphysics in the Will and Representation book. That's beyond me having to explain that quickly. It could take hours. Listen rather, my brothers, to the voice of the healthy body. That is a more honest and pure voice. More honesty and purely speaks the healthy body that is perfect and perpendicular, and it speaks of the meaning of the earth. Thus spoke Zarathustra. On the despisers of the body. I wanted to speak to the despisers of the body. I would not have them learn and teach differently, but merely say farewell to their own bodies and thus become silent. Body am I, and soul. Thus speaks the children. And why should one not speak like children? But the awakened and knowing say, body am I entirely and nothing else. And soul is only a word for something about the body. Think about that. The body is a great reason, a plurality, with one sense a war and a peace, a herd and a shepherd. An instrument of your body is also your little reason. My brother, which you call spirit, a little instrument and toy of your great reason. I, you say, and are proud of the word, but greater is that in which you do not wish to have faith. Your body and its great reason that does not say I, but does I. If you go back to the Kabbalion about the I and the me, what the sense feels, what the spirit knows, never has its end in itself. But sense and spirit would persuade you that they are the end of all things. That is how vain they are. Instruments and toys are sense and spirit. Behind them still lies the self. The self also seeks with the eyes of the senses. It also listens with the ears of the spirit. Always the self listens and seeks. It compares, overpowers, conquers, and destroys. It controls, and it is in control of the ego too. Behind your thoughts and feelings, my brother, there stands a mighty ruler, an unknown sage, whose name is self. In your body he dwells. He is your body. There is more reason in your body than in your best wisdom. And who knows why your body needs precisely your best wisdom? Yourself laughs at your ego, and at it beholds leaps. What are these leaps and flights of thought to me? It says to itself. A detour to my end. I am the leading strings of the ego and the prompter of its concepts. The self says to the ego, feel pain here. Then the ego suffers and thinks how it might suffer no more. And that is why it is made to think. The self says to the ego, feel pleasure here. Then the ego is pleased and thinks how it might often be pleased again. And that is why it is made to think. I want to speak to the despisers of the body. It is their respect that begets their contempt. What is it that created respect and contempt and worth and will? The creative self created respect and contempt. It created pleasure and pain. The created body created the spirit as a hand for its will. Even in your folly and contempt, you despisers of the body, you serve yourself. I say unto you, yourself itself wants to die and turns away from life. It is no longer capable of what it would do above all else, to create beyond itself. That is what it would do above all else. That it is fervent wish. But now it is too late for it to do this. So yourself wants to go under. O despisers of the body, yourself wants to go under, and that is why you have become despisers of the body. For you are no longer able to create beyond yourselves. And that is why you are angry with life and the earth. An unconscious envy speaks out of the squint-eyed glance of your contempt. I shall not go your way, O despisers of the body. You are no bridge to the overman. Thus spoke Zarathustra. I'm going to read one more. On enjoying suffering and the passions. My brother, if you have a virtue and she is your virtue, then you have her in common with nobody. To be sure, you want to call her by name and pet her. You want to pull her ear and have fun with her. And behold, now you have her name in common with the people, and have become one of the people and heard with your virtue. You would do better to say, inexpressible and nameless is that which gives my soul agony and sweetness, and is even the hunger of my entrails. May your virtue be too exalt from the familiarity of names. And if you must speak of her, then do not be ashamed to stammer of her. Then speak and stammer. This is my God, this is my good, this I love. It pleases me wholly. Thus alone do I want the good. I do not want it as divine law. I do not want it as human stature and need. It shall not be a signpost for me to over earths and paradises. It is an earthly virtue that I love. There is little prudence in it, and least of all to reason all men. But this bird built its nest with me, therefore I love and caress it. Now it dwells with me, sitting on its golden eggs. Thus you shall stammer and praise your virtue. Once you suffer passions and call them evil. But now you have only your virtues left. They grew out of your passions. You condemned your highest goal to the heart of these passions, then they become your virtues and passions you enjoyed. And whether you came from the tribe of the chaotic, or of the vulturous, or the frenetic, or of the vengeful, in the end of your passions becomes virtues and your devils and angels. Once you had wild dogs in your cellar, but in the end they turned into birds and lovely singers. Out of your poisons you brewed your balsam. You milked your cow, melancholy. Now you drink the sweet milk of her udder. And nothing evil grows out of you henceforth, unless it be the evil that grows out of the flight among your virtues. My brother, if you are fortunate, you have only one virtue and no more. Then you will pass over the bridge more easily. It is a distinction to have many virtues, but a hard lot. And many have gone into the desert and taken their lives because they had wearied of being the battle and battlefield of virtues. My brother, are war and battle evil? But the evil is necessary. Necessary are the envy and mistrust and calamity among your virtues. Behold how each of you virtues covets what is highest. Each wants your whole spirit that it might become her herald and love. Each virtue is jealous of the others, and jealousy is a terrible thing. Virtues, too, can perish of jealousy. Surrounded by the flame of jealousy, one will in the end, like the scorpion, turn one's poisonous sting against oneself. Alas, my brother, have you never yet seen a virtue deny and stab herself? Men is something that must be overcome, and therefore you shall love your virtues, for you will perish of them. Thus spoke Zarathustra. That's a lot to just take in. But it's true. Even when you have a family, when you have other people around you, and you're not completely in your hermit Tim, in terms like I'm a hermit, full reals hermits, I have nobody but kitty cats around me. I go only home to myself and the spirit, right? But there are people who feel that they're in the hermit's journey because they're the ones who are only thinking outside of the box, outside of the paradigm, outside of the truths that people feel that are the truth, but really aren't the truth because they're not really looking in for the truth. But you have to understand at the same time, there is jealousy. I see it all the time. I see it with my former friends. sort with their partners. You can't hide the truth. You have to be true to yourself. What are your virtues? What is it that you hold? What is it that you speak into existence? There are people that can function by themselves, solely by themselves. There are people that just need a little hug and a cuddle here and there. There are people out there. This is the spiritual attacks that are happening now that are real from the unseen forces that are taking over people, using people so that truth cannot be spoken. And truth in the matter of history, truth in the matter of what we really are, how we actually came to be. There's a lot of things going on. We have a lot of detoxing of our own bodies to do, and we need to really be worried about our own selves and what our own functions are, and not really going outside of ourselves to look for the answers, because we need guidance, but that's not giving you the answers. When you find the answer, there might be somebody with a remedy for it. Hey, I'm looking for this certain diet because I need to detox. Well, here's some stuff that works for me. Try it. If it works for me, great. If not, at least you tried. When people get angry and jealous and over people like that, we have to stop being so jealous, stopping from information from getting to certain people. We have to stop the nonsense, because it's really happening in this hermited world that many of us are sharing. We see it in different forms and facets. If you can't accept another person's lifestyle, guess what? That's your judgment and opinion on them. Don't worry about them. Worry about yourself. This was a journey. This book is a journey. And it's going through the darkest levels of the shadow of yourself. Just like the Carlos Castaneda, The Dark Side of Infinity. Wait, I got that wrong. Carlos Castaneda, it's on my channel. The title of the book somehow just escaped my consciousness. But the active side to infinity. We're in duality. Even though many of us are not consciously in duality anymore, our third density bodies are. So we still need to understand and understand to embrace both sides, the dark and the light. To accept that aspect of you. It's not of either or. It's we're coming to neutrality and figuring it out. You can't read a book by its cover. You only get a little bit of what that cover might be. You got to really go inside of another person to understand the intention that they're bringing to you and the light that they're trying to shine on you, or the darkness that they're trying to shine. Remember, we're all contracted and agreed upon things that we did outside of ourselves and our spiritual selves, came in and incarnated here to have an experience. We're the devil in someone's story. Believe you me, I know that very well. But we're also the angel in someone else's story too. This book brings multitudes of things, and I would love to hear what you're thinking about the insert hermit's journey and what we've been going through and trying to find ourselves so that we can help other people. But look at all the opposition happening in Zarathustra, going through society and going through the different stories and meeting different people. People are shunning and laughing at them. People do that to me all the time. I was in a mechanic shop for hours today, you know, talking to one of the guys who works there. And, you know, he's like, oh, what are you listening to? I was like, oh, tinfoil hat kind of stuff. Like, you know, like, don't you notice certain things happening? And I don't like to converse with people that I really like, but they just are not awake. Just cordial with them. They don't see outside of their matrix. Their paradigm is. So we have to be really understanding and try to seed them consciously things. But it's not easy. Not at all. So I hope that this unlocked some things for you guys. It's really deep and heavy. Think about it, write it in the comments. I would love to hear what you're thinking on the passages that I read today. Did anything jump out at you besides a cat ass? Did anything stick with you? Did anything resonate with you? I would love to know. This entire book really saved my life. It gave me a different perspective to think on. It put me outside of the dense, negative Nancy thinking, because it was making me think differently, and it made me see things and observe life a little differently. That brought me into a neutral place that I can question and start looking at society and looking at different aspects of things differently. And it really, you know, I don't necessarily agree with everything that Friedrich Nietzsche wrote in Thus or any one of his books, but it's there to help you perceive, think differently outside of your paradigm, to make you question. It's the questioning that you really need. You might not agree with anything that I've read, but think about it. Put yourself in that. That's what we need to be doing. And it's hard in the hermit sense, but we got to wake people up, and it's not going to be the ones that are sleeping. It's going to be the ones that are seated already, that are just very unconscious about things. They're questioning little tests. You know, they're not ready for the hardcore shit, but they're starting to see, they're starting to resonate. Certain things are starting to pop in their paradigm, and they're like, so we have to be there for them, but we're still awakening in ourselves. We're still growing in ourselves. We're still coming to the truth. So we don't know what truth really is, because it's been hidden away and hidden away from us. We know 2 + 2 is 4, and that's the truth, because it's mathematics and universal law. There are certain truths that are undeniable. But then there's a gray matter, and then there's dark matter everywhere else. And right now, it's just about us learning how to pluck and find these things, to have things start making sense. And that's, I think, the journey we're all going on and going through. We just happen to be highly aware of it than others. Next time, we're going to go back to Manly Be Whole, because we got a goody coming. Pretty good. But until next time, please write in the comments again, I really like to hear you guys. And you know, unfortunately, YouTube is being a pest. I'm not getting all your comments right away, and it seeps through. So I do apologize on that if you have written a comment and I haven't gotten back to you, or I at least haven't hearted it or liked it. Please know that I don't get them all. They're trying to suppress me for whatever the reason is. It's just books. It's just a perception. But I just want to put that one out there. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. I really appreciate it. It helps me get this information out. You might not resonate with it, but someone else will. And just know there are people that think some of the things that I put on the channel is wackadoo, spiritual nonsense. They don't believe it. Please keep your comments nice. If you have nothing nice to say, don't post it. You can criticize in an objective way that is helpful, but like telling people they need to be on their meds and other things of that nature is not warranted, and I will delete those things. I kept one example up because you like strike one. Just be cordial. That's it. You don't need to resonate with every bit of content I put out. Just be cordial. You know, you're just for that. If that person wants to know, my uncle was on psych meds and killed himself. So that really isn't funny when you tell people to go on their meds, because it was the meds that actually killed him. Just saying. So I don't take lightly to people that say those kinds of comments. Just to be warned, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it. If you want to criticize, do it respectfully. I went to art school. I used to criticize people's artwork all day long. But I had to do it in a respectful, helpful way, not in a demeaning, ripping apart somebody that put a lot of effort and hard work into what they did. There's ways of talking and communicating that can be done that is productive and not attacking. Just putting that out there, guys. Again, words are used as spells. People spell cast. Be mindful of the things that come out of your mouth. Have the intention of only love and light and compassion. And when we speak better and we project better and we do better, things will change. But things won't change if we keep demeaning other people. You know, try to wake up. Love and light. Have a really good rest of the weekend. Please be safe, be seen, be prepared. Anything can happen and nothing can happen at the same time. Have a nice night, guys.